Welcome back to the Leadership Lab, the show where we explore leadership, operational clarity, and breakthrough in performance. Today, we're joined by Wes Dove, founder of Dove Development and Consulting, a leadership and organizational development firm focused on helping businesses build structure, accountability, and sustainable growth. Wes, welcome, and please let us know more about your story, me and the audience to know more about you.
Sure, Joseph. Well, first off, thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you. We had a great initial conversation, and I was excited about this today.
Yeah.
My story is I learned about leadership because I had to. Right after I got married, I found myself in a position where I had to get results through people who didn't report to me, and I didn't have authority, nor did I have the support of their supervisors and managers who did have authority. So I had to learn to earn influence with those people, and it was hard. My wife and I, in our respective careers, have spent a tremendous amount of money investing into resources that could help us grow so
Yeah.
we could get those results and really lead teams. And that's what we try to do for organizations today is provide those tools at a practical level.
Okay, that's really awesome. So it was not something planned.
No, it was a sheer necessity that we start our leadership journey because we both had to get those results. Our jobs, our
Yeah,
livelihood depended on it. And we said, well, let's figure this out because I like sleeping inside. I like eating food. So greedy things like that, right?
I see. So when you actually step into a new organization, like what's the first pattern you look into?
Well, the most common conversation we have with organizations, big, small, it doesn't matter, is hey, we've got really good people. And as they got great at what they did, we gave them promotions and now they're supervisors or managers and they were great at what they did, but they've struggled to really lead their teams. They've had issues with the people on their teams. And the reality is, Joseph, being good at a job and being good at managing people are two very different things.
Yeah.
We look for how can we best support that? What are the issues that those organizations are having? And we've developed, gosh, more than 200 hours of content. We've written a number of different books. We use a lot of different resources to make sure that we can have practical action steps that those folks can put in place to get immediate results that impact their bottom line.
Okay, that's awesome. And like how do you actually structure your engagement to move leaders from insight to execution?
Well, we typically, in every lesson that we do, we wrap it up, whether it's 15 minutes or a few hours, we always wrap up with saying, what's the one thing that you can do immediately? What's the result that you want to get through that? How will you measure the success of that, both in your bottom line, the profitability, the productivity in your organization, as
Yes.
well as how it moves the culture, but how can you work to sustain it? And we want them to have that conversation and provide those responses to their immediate manager. But in the cases the manager doesn't have time to support and collaborate with them, we do provide a lot of executive level coaching to help them support and change those behaviors so they can see measurable results. Because if they don't have that change and sustain it, the results aren't going to happen.
Right, right. I totally agree with you in that part. So moving to the industry trends that we see right now, what shifts are you seeing right now in leadership behavior, like especially in growing companies?
That's a great question. Though there's always pressure, and one of the most frequent things we see is when there's significant amounts of pressure on where our resources go, how we can spend what we can spend on. One of the first things that gets cut is the investment in developing the people. And the reality is they look at that so often as it's intangible. We can't really measure the results. And quite frankly, Joseph, the reason I wrote my first book, What's Killing Your Profitability, was to
Mhm.
make a very sound business case for here's how you measure leadership development. Here's how it directly impacts your productivity and your profitability of your organization. So
Yeah.
you understand here's where the investment really does deliver a return.
Okay, that's awesome. And let's say like are the founders today like more visionary and less operational or the opposite?
Many of the folks that I've seen in founders roles, entrepreneurs, are fantastic people. They're very, very visionary. And in many cases, I've seen them be brilliant at the idea creation and even taking the idea to market.
Yeah.
As the team scales, I see the struggle is some folks intuitively are fantastic at leading people. They're just genuinely they have the tools that people flock to, but not
Right.
all of them do. That's an exception. So that's the part that I see people struggle with, especially as entrepreneurs, founders that are growing with great ideas. How do we get the people side to work? How do we hold people accountable? How do we set high expectations and still achieve what we need to do without people running away faster than they're coming back?
Yeah, so they still have like a kind of lack in the operational one.
Yeah, and that lack is often because those founders, those entrepreneurs are great at what they do. They're
Yes,
so technically sound in the idea. Everybody that's sure we train those people. It's hard to make sure that we can transfer our knowledge to those people in a way they can get it, and we don't run them off in the process.
right, right. So let's say like what's the hidden cost of unclear rules and responsibilities?
So statistically, I love that you asked that question. One of the things that we share so often about communication, statistically for a 100 person firm, they waste about 17 hours per week on additional unnecessary communication. 17 hours, not total 17 hours, 17 hours of unnecessary conversation. And that translates over to several $100,000 of direct labor costs over the course of the year. And people don't even see it because we're slowed down to, well, we've talked about it, but we need to circle back and do it. And it cuts into productivity. Another hidden cost that happens so often is the recruitment and retention, two separate
Yes,
things, but they're huge costs because if I have turnover and I don't have a good culture that people want to be a part of and stay, it costs in the United States, the Bureau of Labor Statistics says the average cost to replace someone is between half their annual salary and 5 times their annual salary. And that depends on their complexity, how good they are at what they do. And you think about if somebody's making $1,000 a year, that's a minimum of $25,000 it costs to replace them.
right.
And if we have to replace people over and over and over, eventually we can't recruit either because our organization develops the reputation for there's a reason for that people are leaving. There's a reason that job's open over and over and over. I
Exactly.
don't want to
And
be there.
right. Any employee who actually would think about like why would I be in a place that have this percentage of the turnover?
Yes. And I still help a few clients with their recruiting process. I was an HR manager for a long time. I worked in safety. So I still support a few. And I've seen those questions be asked over and over and over by great candidates. The mediocre or the bottom tier candidates never ask. They just want somewhere, okay, you've got a pulse, you'll do. Give me a check, I'll show up, maybe. But the great candidates say, why is the position open? And if I can't give them a solid answer, then they're not terribly interested. We might finish the conversation, but it's unlikely they would accept a position even if we offer it.
Okay. That's a part actually a lot of people like neglect it. Like a lot of businesses actually do, and it caused a lot of loss.
Yeah.
So
Joseph, one of the things that I stress in that is so often the best candidates don't shy away from high expectations. They don't shy away from working hard. They don't shy away from the tough situations. What they do
yeah,
shy away from is when the people around them aren't held accountable.
right.
What they'll say is, gosh, if mediocre is acceptable, I don't want to be a part of it. I want to be part of a great organization. I mean, you do, I do. I
Yeah.
want to be part of great. I don't want to be part of mediocre. That's dirty.
Yeah. Okay. I agree with you actually. And yeah. So I'm moving like to the current state. Is there a recurring bottleneck, would say, you see inside client organizations, like something that consistently slows the execution?
One of the things that we've seen over the last 5 years, and we've had a wonderful case study to watch, and we've had several other organizations that we've taken what we've learned and we've started to implement into it, is the importance of having very, very clearly defined and understood values.
Yes.
And when those values are in place, and my most recent book is based on that, it's called The Values Advantage. And it's based on when values are in place, and that's our foundation for everything we do. The organization, the walls come down, the people engage at a higher level, they give more discretionary effort. Turnover is ridiculously low. Productivity becomes great, growth happens, and that removes so many of the bottlenecks, even in the recruiting and retention process.
Yeah, I agree with you. So expand more, like in regards of book, I would love to know more, and the audience as well, if you could expand on that.
5 years ago, I met a guy for the first time that he was buying a business. He had been in corporate America at a very high level. We ran a company that did almost $1 billion in revenue, and he was amazing. And he was buying a small family-owned business that had been around for 75 years. And he said, Wes, every decision I make moving forward is going to be based on these 5 values. And hey, Joseph, people talk, right? People say things, but as things unfolded from July of 2021 until we launched his handbook in February of 2022, I watched him live out those values every single time I interacted with him. And more importantly, every single day, the team members in the organization he acquired, they watched it and they felt it and they became ridiculously loyal to them. And one of the most senior, one of the most talented folks on the team who was scheduled to retire, he actually pushed back his retirement two different times because he fell in love with the family that bought the business. And he was so attracted to, we're living by these values. I want to be a part of this.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. So let me ask you if you could remove one structural constraint inside most companies, like what would it be?
I would remove the perception that because I have a title, I'm important or I have authority.
Oh, yeah,
Titles are
yeah. That a
necessary.
lot of actually, yeah, a lot of employees struggling with this part.
Yeah, titles are necessary. We all have different roles. We all have different responsibilities. But leadership is about the influence we earn with people, not based on our title and the authority that comes with it.
There's
And if
people
people
driving with ego.
Yes, yes. So many people say, hey, I want to be a supervisor or manager so I can tell people what to do, so people can work under me. And that builds so many walls. It
Yeah,
just tears down productivity and profitability and it pushes good people away.
yeah. Can't agree more, to be honest. It happens a lot in a lot of organizations, not just small ones. And it's really sad that people think about it that way. It needs more awareness to the leaders and to actually those organizations to pick the right management.
Yeah. I often define leadership, I use it as a verb, and I say it's the act of serving the people that we're responsible for. It's not about being the boss of people. It's about who's on my team and what do they need from me to be able to do their work better.
Right,
Do their work
right.
for them. But if
Yeah,
I'm a leader, if I lead them well, they can be better at what they do.
yeah. I'm 1000% actually convinced that a right leader would be the best if they could actually help their people and the employees is responsible to get them more comfortable doing the work, literally providing all the tools, providing everything needed so they can leverage the work, they can do more.
Yeah.
There's that type of appreciation actually employees would feel if they found that in their leaders.
Joseph, I've been blessed to work with several different folks like that I've never heard them say Wes works for me. I've always heard them tell people, their friends, their family, I work with Wes. And
Yes.
I've never felt them treat me like I was less than them or I was under them, but always how can they help me and how can they give me the credit when we win together? It's been an
That's
amazing
that's
example.
that's the whole point, right? So moving to the future look, like looking 6 to 12 months ahead, where do you want to take, like where do you want to actually evolve your work and take your work that way?
That's love that, and I appreciate you asking that. We're right now, based on the new book just came out a week or two ago. It was released. It hit a #1 Amazon bestseller before it ever hit the market, in pre-orders and all that. But we're working on building a full implementation guide textbook and a go-to-market strategy that provides organizations, whether it's three people in the company or it's
Yeah,
3,000 people in the company.
yeah.
Here's the structure to make sure you have the values in place that you can capture that buy-in, that engagement, that discretionary effort that translates over into strong teams and
Mhm.
exceptionally profitable organizations.
Okay, that's amazing. I'm actually excited for you to see that.
Yeah,
So,
we're building out some really tailored specific assessments that based on where you're at today, not an initial assessment, but also some 360 looks that organizations can even use with their clients to say, where do you feel like we are? We feel like we're good, but are we living up to what we say we are? Because you and I have both seen organizations that say, here's our values, but they don't deliver.
right. Yes, I agree with you. So, moving to technology, like how do you see technology right now, like influencing organizational development?
So, Joseph, you and I both have experience with the AI tools, and I hear a lot around it, and I hear people have fear of AI taking jobs. And when you and I had our initial talk, I believe I made a comment about technology makes bad worse and makes good better. Technology isn't what's going to unlock the kingdom. How we use it will. And if we can use it well, if we have good systems in place and we use the technology right, we can move fast. But if we use
Agree.
technology wrong, we can still move fast. It's just not the right direction.
Yes, yes, totally agree with you. And actually, people right there, they don't understand that it's just a tool that could help them do whatever. It's just a tool. They need to understand that. It doesn't have any part in when it comes to execution,
Yeah.
because some people literally replace their mind and they don't just think with whatever. They want the AI drive the whole thing.
Joseph, I started in construction. I was a carpenter nearly 40 years ago when I was just a young kid. And we used all hand tools at the time. I'm hammering nails and doing the things. And today we have all these amazing tools that make those things faster. But the
Yes.
reality is it's still the same concept. They've just sped it up. But if I'm a bad carpenter and I don't know how things work, I'm just going to be really, really fast at doing bad work.
Yeah, yeah, right. It's actually this that like a good example just showing that. So like as AI becomes more integrated into businesses workflows, what role should leaders play in guiding like that transition?
One thing AI will never do is replace the human element that leaders have the responsibility to connect with their people.
Yeah.
On our podcast a few weeks ago, I interviewed a dear friend who's the CEO of a large printing company. And he said, when I'm with folks on the shop floor in my facilities, I need to treat them like they're the only person that exists to me in that moment.
Hmm.
And AI can't do that. Leaders, you've got to take care of your people. If you take care of your people, all the tools that we use can help us be better. If you
Right.
don't take care of your people, it doesn't matter how good your tools are.
Right. Right. So last but not least, I would ask, like, if a CEO currently listening today and feels stuck at a growth plateau, like, what is the first internal shift they should make before hiring consultants or upgrading systems or changing strategy? What would be the first thing to look at?
Few different answers. With the consultant, I've seen so many consultants that are, and that's why I started my business, quite frankly, because I watched consultants that were far more interested about how do I secure the contract as opposed to how do I make sure that you get results that matter for your organization. Consultants got to be involved in that. And if they're not the right person for you. Now, with every other strategy as a leader, I've got to make sure that not only it does it model my values, but it serves the people in the organization as best as it possibly can. And when I do that, those things will eventually yield massive profitability. If I'm looking at the profit first and not the people, we might get profit short term, but we won't get profit long term.
Yes, totally agree with you. Like a lot of people actually, and like not just consultants, like whoever actually providing a kind of service, if they just think about it from their side, like I just want to close that or I just want to get the contract, and they don't look at the end on the other side of business, like what they're getting in regards of that. Am I going to really help them or,
Yeah, Joseph, I wrote my second book called Leading with a Clear Purpose for that specific reason. If somebody only wants to take a leadership position for the money, don't take the leadership position because there's never going to be enough money. Leading a team is hard. They count on you. And truth be told, when my wife and I started our business, we made way more in our corporate jobs than we've made for years in our business, but we get so much more satisfaction. And quite frankly, we make those decisions based on how can we serve our clients. And over time, that takes care of things. Early on, and for 10 years, it was never about what's the most profitable. It was about how do we make sure that we're serving people and we'll be okay in the long term.
Yes, right. So thank you so much, Wes. I really enjoyed our conversation. Like it's been really incredibly insightful. Thank you, and thanks for our audience as well. I know that they're gonna enjoy our conversation. So thank you. Thank you for joining today.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the time.